Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Natoli with the Chiropractic and Functional Neurology Center. Today, I have the pleasure of talking with a good friend of mine and fellow colleague. He is Dr. Maninder Atwall, and he works at Pure Light Chiropractic in Austin, Texas. Welcome, Maninder.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good to see you, kind of. Kind of see you from afar.
Right,
so Maninder and I went to school together, and I think that he has an awesome fresh perspective on what chiropractic actually is. And he did a lot of philosophy back in school. Is that correct? Really into philosophy and really into just different perspectives on things. So the best way to describe Maninder is he is eternally curious. He's always looking with fresh eyes and amazement and gratitude for the life he's been given. He was raised with love of an immigrant mother in childhood, infused with values of the Sikh culture, correct? Anchoring his heart in service and support for those around him. Maninder lives with intention every day, and to deepen his understanding of life, keeping his eyes and mind open through new perspectives and experiences of everyone he meets. So Maninder, I am so honored to be interviewing you today. So let's chat a little bit about, there's a lot going on in everybody's life right now, right? So we're all kind of quarantined at home, and a lot of anxiety, a lot of stuff that people are trying to get used to. And I think now more than ever, the chiropractic lifestyle is so important for people to understand what it is that we actually do and offer. Right. So for you, what would you say the chiropractic lifestyle means to you?
Okay, so what's interesting about the way that we started this is we're talking about there's a lot going on for people, right? And that's absolutely true. Like you say that, I know it to be true. You say, you know it to be true. Anyone who's watching is like, oh my gosh, that's so true. So much is going on right now. But we have so much less to do right now, right?
True.
And
Absolutely.
That's the peculiar thing about it, is that we're at home. We don't have as much to do. Maybe like my apartment is cleaner and more organized than it has been in a very long time. So maybe there is things for me to do. But in comparison to our day-to-day, of what we normally are used to, it's like we don't have anything to do and we're going crazy because of that.
Yeah.
Because, and this is going to come around to chiropractic, I think. Just give me a second.
We'll get there.
I think I'm getting there. I think the chaos is in the fact that there's no chaos in our own particular space right now. And that we a lot of times thrive on having outside in things to do. You know, like I have this goal that I'm trying to go create. I have this place that I'm trying to be. I have these things that I need to have in my life to keep me occupied, to keep me busy. And now that we've pulled some of those layers off, and it's just kind of like I'm just hanging out with me right now, trying to understand my feelings and my emotions and where I'm at with this chaos that is around us rather than within us.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more scary, and I think that's where we're feeling like there's a lot going on, because maybe the only thing that is going on is our misunderstanding of how to live in life. And so I think that that's where we can kind of jump off our chiropractic conversation, because I tell this to everybody I see for the first time in my practice, is that whether you've been to a chiropractor 1,000 times or this is your first time, you've never heard of chiropractic before, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to talk probably longer than you want me to about what chiropractic is, because I think chiropractors have done a terrible job of, as a profession, letting people know what chiropractic is. You know, I pull out my spine model because I say this is the only thing that you can relate to me, and I don't even know what it is that you think about this in relation to me. So let's talk about it. In a lot of ways, I try to have a conversation about it, and it's sad because, like, let's take something random like CrossFit. If I told you, tell me what the CrossFit lifestyle is, you would be like, pick up heavy things and don't eat bread, right? Like you have a pretty good idea of what the CrossFit lifestyle is. But a lot of times, and this is what we talk about in school, is that what we're fighting in chiropractic is that when people are thinking about chiropractic, they're thinking about chiropractors, right? They're saying chiropractic is what chiropractors do.
Correct.
And you can walk into 5 different practices all on the same street, and they could all look completely different. They could be wearing different clothes. They could be using different verbiage. They could have a different, just general vibe about the practice.
Hmm.
And if that's the perspective that we're taking, is that, okay, my chiropractic does that, that's what chiropractic is, then we're not giving a succinct message to kind of society as a whole. And so to bring this back to that conversation that we were having initially, the crux, the base, the foundation of chiropractic is saying, let me understand what it is that is totally natural and best for me as an individual within my environment, right? That's the nervous system's job, is to interpret the stimulus from our environment and then essentially formulate a plan on how to respond to that
Hmm.
environment, whether it's external or internal environment, right? And so a lot of times we get in the situation where there's so much coming in from the outside that we can't hear the plan on the inside on how to respond to it, right?
Absolutely.
And so the purpose of chiropractic is to say, well, human beings are at their best whenever they are listening to their internal wisdom and understanding what it is that their body's needs are so that they can respond to those needs, so that they can give themselves whatever it is that their body is asking of them, right? And we're not just
Absolutely.
talking about physically, like, I'm laying on my couch, I need to go for a run. We're talking about, emotionally, when we're within a relationship, like, how do I respond to the way that somebody is speaking to me, or the pressure of this job that I have, or the death of a family member, or whatever it is? How do I respond to that? Well, if we are busying ourselves with all the outside perspectives and trying to bring that stuff in, then we can't listen to what is internal and is of our highest purpose. And so the chiropractic perspective is to say that stuff from the outside builds up on us, and it builds up physically in our bodies as well. And if we're here to clear some of that out and allow you to have more clarity and listening to what your nervous system is telling you, what your body is telling you is for your highest purpose, then you can live at your highest potential. And I think that's where a lot of people are freaking out right now, sitting in their houses, is that they haven't listened to themselves in a very long time
Yes.
because they've blocked everything out for a very long time, and that is how they work. So they don't know how to listen to themselves, and they don't know what it is that is their highest purpose right now. They don't know how to essentially be their own leader. And in that way, they're having this struggle of trying to find what's best for them, but it's kind of this experiment right now because they haven't been practicing it.
Correct.
And in this moment of um, of just like high threshold stress, when we need it the most, when we need that inner wisdom the most, it's hard for us to call upon it because we haven't been there doing it for years and years and years the way we're designed.
I think that's the silver lining in all of this, though, is it's forcing people to quiet down. It's forcing people to slow down. It's
Absolutely.
forcing people to do things much differently, even though there's some tragedy in it, obviously,
Right.
and some scary parts to it. If you look at what's happening in the world, there's dolphins coming back to certain coasts
I
because
know.
cruise ships aren't there. And the air in China is cleaner and things are
Right.
cleaning out because people are
Totally.
stopping and we're slowing
Right.
down.
Right. It's a reset for the planet. In the same way that we talk about chiropractic being a reset for your nervous system, for your body, so that you
Yeah.
can get back to that clean foundation.
Yep.
The planet is doing it as an organism as well.
Absolutely.
And I mean, that's the way we have to look at this. Is there's these natural laws, right? Like what's naturally happening within my body is naturally happening to the planet. What's naturally going to happen within my body if I get a virus like the flu or something like that? There's going to be a period where it ramps up. There's going to be a period where it's at its worst. And there's going to be a period where my body adapts and my immune system cleans it out. That same natural pattern has to happen with COVID as it goes through the planet. right?
And that's
And
the
so,
special word, right? That's the key word is adaptation, right?
right,
So chiropractors in
perfect.
general, we always talk about if you're not adapting, that's when things go wrong, right? You either adapt or
Totally,
you die. Those are your two choices. You can't,
100%.
yeah, you can't go any other way. And that's kind of what COVID did as well, right? It's just the SARS virus that has adapted to things and medications
Right,
that we've had, and it's adapted and it's
absolutely.
changed its form to kind of
Yeah,
combat us. But people can adapt too. And I think that's where people can be more prepared and less scared for all of
yes,
this, you know, and not stay in a constant state of worry, be smart, but
yes.
understand that we have those same skills to adapt as well.
Right. Well, and an adaptation comes from awareness, right? Like
Absolutely.
if you're aware of what your needs are, if you're listening, like I was talking about, to yourself, then you can now say, I can take that step to start my adaptation,
Yeah.
and I can change my environment. I can decide what it is within my space that's making me unhappy or
Mm-hmm.
not allowing me to live in congruence with myself, and start living more intentionally. I mean, that's the key here. It's chiropractic living, chiropractic lifestyle. This just thought process in general is about intentional living. Right? It's
Mm-hmm.
about an intentional lifestyle, and that's why it's hard, right? Like it's easy to be unintentional. It's easy to just kind of let things happen, and that's why, like in school, for example, we're talking about like we kind of giggle whenever it's like, oh yeah, you were real into philosophy. It's like, well, yeah, I was, but I was real into like sticking it to the man with my philosophy. You know, like I was real into like raising my hand and like, excuse me, professor, how about this? And it's because I was like internally like this tempest, like there was this storm inside of me trying to figure out like what is my actual truth.
Yes.
And in that process, that storm was kind of coming out, and I was just like striking lightning bolts at everybody around me. And it was like, at the time, I can look back and say that like it was a little bit of like a holier than thou perspective within like our own little community. Like, oh no, this is the way it's supposed to be. I've read the books. Like this is how it should be. But really, in the end, what I was doing was going through that struggle that maybe a lot of people are going through right now of trying to figure out like what is me and what is things that I've been told to be. You know,
Exactly.
like what have I been told by my surrounding, by my society, as this is the way that is appropriate to act. This is the way that is working, functionally within society, within the people around you. And then what's that thing that didn't have to be told to me, but has been there all along, telling me like what is the path to your highest purpose. And so I think that in that time, I was, like a little bit of like my teenage years, just being like rebellious and like, like I don't quite get why I'm right, but I am right.
But I just am, and that's it.
Yeah.
But
So
I love
hopefully
that about
now,
you. Like you always
well,
question everything. And I think that's so important because when we're in school, a lot of people don't understand how rigorous chiropractic school actually is. I mean,
right,
there's days without sleep and there's,
yes,
28, 30 tests a week. I mean, it is grueling. And
yeah,
within that, that's when you adapt, right? When you're put
right,
under maximum amounts of stress. And who can come out the
absolutely.
other end, you know?
Yes, and that's what it is. It was for me an accelerated growth process, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like those 3 4 years that we spent in that classroom was as good as 10 or 15 years of like maturity for me. I feel like I felt like I grew so much as a person and developed so much as a person,
Yeah.
and that's why I feel like now it's my job to not just lay someone on the table and say, "Hey, taking your say I'm clearing your spine," but instead saying like, hey, this is the process. This is the process that I went through, and I feel like it created so much growth in me. So let's do it together. And me as a chiropractor, physically, I'm helping you more clearly go through this process.
Mm-hmm.
But me as a person, my experience was this, so I want to guide you from that place as well. Like I feel like so much for chiropractic is about that guidance and saying like, okay, these are the ways that I found myself in a way, so
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's right for you. That's not the same as saying like you need to go home and do 100 push-ups and than, you know, only eat kale for 3 days. You know, like that's a whatever whatever we talked about doing this video, what was the first thing I said to you? It was like it's not gonna be about like eat salads and exercise and get adjusted. That's not the conversation I want to have because that's
Right. And not that there's anything wrong with those things.
no.
We all agree, I think anyone would agree, that eating healthy food, getting adjusted, exercising, moving, meditating, all those things are positive things. But right now, everyone is under a different type of stress. Like you said, we're not bogged down with the mundane to-do list that we're so used to doing. So now we actually have to think about things that we're doing day to day. Are they
Absolutely.
purposeful? Are they meaningful? And you're right, because we tend to just go off on tangents and not live with any purpose. And right now we're being forced to live with purpose, which I feel like was something that we got from chiropractic school.
Right. Well, and even those great things for you can be things that you use as crutches, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, whenever I was starting to get into meditation, I started to use meditation. I would say I was abusing meditation because my perspective on meditation was I meditated on Monday. It was a great day. I didn't meditate on Tuesday. Everything hit the fan. It's like
Yeah.
I have to meditate every morning, otherwise things are gonna go bad. And that's a negative perspective to come into something that is very positive. And
Mm-hmm.
so same thing. I have to eat these kale salads, otherwise I'm gonna get a heart attack. Or I have to get adjusted, otherwise this. That. You know what I mean? Like it's about our intention, as I was saying earlier, and that is the chiropractic lifestyle. It may expand once you start to understand your purpose and you start living with that intention to include those things like nutrition or exercise and stuff like that. Those aren't inherently chiropractic. Those are things that chiropractic can open the door to. I had a mentor who said, we as chiropractors can be the center of a wheel, right? And then we have spokes that go out, and the wheel is created all together. And we can send people out on these spokes to a nutritionist, to a fitness person, for to whoever it is that we want to send them to, or different paths that we send them down. But our job as a chiropractor is to be that center of the spoke and say, this is the foundation. If you look at every one of these different spokes from this perspective of what serves me the best, that chiropractic lifestyle, what serves me the best, then you will find which of those spokes work for you the best. You know, and that's where you create the growth. Past the awareness, you got the growth that makes the adaptation.
I think that's a really good observation. I love that analogy, sending people off on spokes. So the foundation, how would you describe us being the foundation of healthcare?
Okay, so yeah, in that way that we can be the first ones to say that your health is your responsibility, right? That your health is your ability to respond. That it is not necessarily that we're coming from a place of you have been stricken with this, and I am now going to come in and say, I will take this away from you.
Right.
Come back to me again whenever you are stricken with something.
Right.
This is a perspective of, can you see what it is within your life that is not serving you? Can you see what it is within your life that will serve you better? And if you can't see it, then there's some disconnect between you and yourself.
Yes.
Because there's no true internal part of you that doesn't want to be thriving, right? But if we come to a place where we stop listening, the analogy I use is that I had a sister who's 10 years older than me. My other sister is 16 years older than me. When I was a little kid, I would try to say things, and they'd be hanging out. And then I'd try to say it again, and they'd keep ignoring me. And I would talk louder and louder and louder until I was like, listen to me! And that's how I explain how your body talks to you.
Yes.
Right? That it, whether it's physically through pain or emotion or just its need to do what's right for you. And like, this can get metaphysical too, right? This can be like, what's the right choice for you in finding a spouse, or what job is right for you, or whatever it is. If you can start having that clarity, then it's easier to make those decisions, right? That are best for your highest self. And so if you're ignoring those things, your body's going to let you know. but it may not talk loud. It may whisper initially, and you keep ignoring, and it's going to talk louder and louder and louder until it yells at you. And when you get yelled at, your life gets put in that pause mode, right? Where
Absolutely.
everything comes to you so hard that you can't keep ignoring and doing the day-to-day things that just, occupy your time, your mind, all of that stuff. But you have to be faced by this. I went through a breakup, God, how long ago was that? Like 6 years ago? And it was one where the relationship for a long time was not really a relationship. We were just kind of together. And I had known that we're breaking up. It was almost like we put a date on it, like, all right, we'll break up whenever you go do this thing because we won't be in the same space
Hmm.
anymore. And so I came to it kind of emotionless. It's like, all right, April
It's
1st is
time.
here. Yeah,
Yeah.
April 1st is here. This is when we decided that you're going to do this thing. And like, there's a part of me that was like, whew, okay, that burden is off of me. And no joke, Angela, 2 days later, I couldn't get out of bed. I physically, my neck, my or lower neck, upper thoracic spine was so locked, I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't sleep at night. I was getting adjusted. I was doing all the right. I was, fish oils and all these like anti-inflammatory supplements. Like I was
Eating
rolling up.
kale.
I was eating as much kale as I could muster, and like I just couldn't feel right. And it took me having those nights where I couldn't sleep and being so overwhelmed by why is this happening to me? I just want to sleep and heal and just crying to say, I'm not crying because I am in pain and going to sleep. I'm or not able to go to sleep. Incapable of sleeping and in pain because I am crying, because I need to cry because I have to process this experience and I have to listen to internally what my body wants to do is take these emotions and turn them into wisdom rather than triggers.
Hmm.
Um, and I wasn't doing that. I was just like, I'm good. All right, next step, next thing. And my body yelled at me enough to where I had to do it. And that was, I remember taking a walk whenever I was starting to feel better. And all the way up to that moment, I had thought, like, I feel weak because I'm in pain. I can't sleep. I can't heal. I feel weak because this breakup made me, this breakup broke me. Um,
Hmm.
and in that moment, whenever I was walking and starting to feel a little bit better, I was like, that's not my weakness. That's my strength. That's my ability to adapt. That's my body saying, I am so powerful that I will stop your life so that you process this experience that you need to process to become a better version of yourself. And that is an absolute strength. And if we can use that as our foundation for the people who come into us and say that this is who you are, this is what chiropractic is, understanding that you are strong because of what you are inside, what you are capable of, then that's how we become that center of the spoke or center of the wheel that has the spokes coming off of it. That's how we in healthcare can be the foundation for every other choice because it's empowerment, right? You can go to see your MD and make sure that you're on the same page with that particular MD. And if you're not, then you are empowered enough to say, I'm going to find one that works for me, that is right for me. You can do the
Absolutely.
same for any other practitioner. And that is this empowerment of knowing that inside you're always 100%, even though physically you may not always be feeling that way.
Right. And if you're not physically feeling good, something is wrong. Maybe it's not, like you said, just a subluxation or something like that. Our bodies talk to us, and
Right,
the nervous system is how that happens. The nervous system controls everything in the body, and that's what we learn in chiropractic school, and that's how it starts talking to us. So it'll change maybe like a guttural response, or it'll change
right,
pain responses, or whatever, however your body is talking to you through maybe some anxiety, racing thoughts
right,
through your brain. But it's just a communication. It may not
right.
be the issue. And that's where I think we are different than medical community where we don't take a heroic approach. Something happens, we do X, make you better. We try to take into account prevention. We try to teach you the ways to be healthy, teach you how to listen to your body. And it's not always waiting for the tragedy to happen for you to take action. And I think that makes so much sense right now because, you know, some people do have issues right now, especially with this virus going on, but a lot of people don't. But you still have the power to take control right now of your health.
Right. Well, and your body's always communicating whether it's about something that isn't right for you or something that needs to be right for you. And that may sound the same, but to me, I look at it as, is my body telling me something in my environment is not right? Or is my body telling me I need to go express myself in a certain way to enjoy my particular life better? That's why whenever I have this conversation with musicians, with artists, this is the easiest conversation to ever have. I can explain chiropractic so easily to a musician because it's as simple as you have something inside of you and you're letting it out of yourself to the world around you.
Yes.
And they're like, yeah, well, duh. And it's like, that's the purpose of chiropractic. I'm here to make sure that you are so clear that you are expressing that internal version of yourself so purely that you are just, you know, inside, outside the same. There's no disconnect. There's no interference in the process. And that conversation is so easy with musicians, with artists. And that's something that I've been seeing with people staying at home, is that people who I have never, ever known to have any inclination towards creativity are starting to do things that are so creative and mind-blowing that they're even thinking that way. And that is, to me, a sign that people have sat with themselves long enough to say, like, oh, yeah, this is something that I have within me that I want to share. If we all are capable of sharing what is within us at our purest version, then, you know, societally we're better.
Absolutely. And we're being forced to do that.
Right. And we're being forced to do that. And it's beautiful. You know, you're seeing people playing their instruments on their balconies. You're seeing people, you know, deciding to paint, or you're seeing, like, my friend made a bracket of, like, since there's no March Madness, he made a 64 team Simpsons bracket where he picked 64 of his favorite episodes of The Simpsons and he ranked them by 1 to 16 with 4 brackets, and was like, all right, guys, let's sit down and watch these episodes, and then we'll compare and contrast at the end of it. And it's like, that's so creative, and it's not something that he ever would have, one, had the time to do, and two, I don't think he would have even thought to do it. You know?
I think that's important, though. So many people say, well, if I had time, I would do X, Y, Z. Well, if you sit with yourself now and ask, what were those things I always told myself I didn't have time for?
Yeah.
You know, mine's always art. I love to paint. I love to draw. That's my thing. But, you know, you always want more time. Well, we have more time now. So what I think having people maybe even list those things, maybe be honest with themselves about what those things are, you know, is getting back in connection with what it is that you actually want out of life. Because you have the time now. Now there's no excuse.
Right. And
run from it now.
It's that perspective of, like, you have to kind of stalk yourself, right? You have to kind of pay attention to yourself and the things that you want, or the things that you have wanted, to then give that to yourself. And so I think that's a really good kind of action step to take from this conversation that we're having, that people watching this can take, is maybe get a journal, get some paper, and throughout your day, at the end of your day, however works best for you, write down the things that you have ideas about, and then after a week, look at it and see if there's any theme in there. See if there's anything that you really like, really draws you, and try to do it. It's as simple as that. Try to do it.
I saw a good quote. It was kind of like, as things calm down and we start to return back to normal, what part of normal do you want to return to?
Absolutely.
Because right now, it's nothing's normal, right? I mean,
No.
some things are, but in the majority of our lives, things aren't completely normal. So if you're given that chance to see, okay, you know, I really didn't like this part of my job. I really didn't like this part of my relationship. I didn't like this part of my health routine. Maybe I enjoy cooking for myself, you know, every day.
Yeah.
it calls to light some things that you can do. You know, it's always been there.
Right. And are we going to go back to walking by somebody on the sidewalk and not making eye contact? Or are we going to say, hey, how you doing? Because currently we are not surrounded by enough people, so that when we see them, like, hey, how are you?
Yeah,
like,
we're social beings, and this is tough.
Yeah. So I think that's a huge part of what we can do better whenever life is back to the grind, is that we can remember that, oh yeah, I used to sit out on my balcony and see all my other neighbors doing the same things, and we'd wave to each other, say hello. And maybe something as simple as that, whenever we don't have to, is enough to make a big change.
Yeah, just being appreciative of the good things. I think we tend to say, I don't want to get up early, I don't want to go to work, I don't want, and then
like,
now,
what do you want though?
I have so many people lying on my table, you know, as I adjust them, and they're like, you know, I'm a teacher, all I want is to go back to school.
Yeah.
Would they have said that prior? Probably not, but I think it's giving a really different and new perspective on what it is you actually want.
Right. There's that appreciation of freedom, right?
Yeah, it is.
Freedom can be, physical freedom from the space that you're confined, or freedom can be the freedom to be yourself.
Yes.
And so if we are able to understand that the freedom to be ourselves is the most satisfying, then we can strive to live towards that as much as possible.
So you saying that we're the center spoke, I want to go back to that for a second, as far as we're removing any interference and living life to full potential. I don't know that just common viewers will know what we're talking about when we say that. So let's maybe give some clarity as far as what that means, because most people, we all know it, know chiropractors as back pain specialists, right? And not that that's a bad thing. We do help with back pain, and we do it well. But it's so much more than that. You know, that's maybe like 10% of what we do. And then there's all this other stuff that we help you actually live a really wonderful and healthy life. So can we go back to what that means to people?
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about it physically in terms of just allowing the nervous system to be in more connection with the body, and to be able to communicate, right? To be able to recognize the needs within your system and say, okay, maybe that was something that I didn't recognize before I got adjusted. My awareness wasn't totally there. And now I know how to respond to it. We can talk about it metaphysically in kind of the way that we have for a while, and that there's the ability to say, whenever I am clear, whenever I know that I am feeling my best or doing my best, I then know what it's like to not be my best.
Yes, that's one of the biggest things I think people say. They're like, wow, ever since I started getting adjusted, now I know when I need it.
Right.
Because they were never aware of it before.
Right. And that's your opportunity to say, this is a crossroads, right? This is my moment where I can continue going on this path that I have been going on and respond to my need and do what I know is right for myself. Or I can live the way that I have before and say, I'm going to ignore it this time. I'll probably be better if I just do it later.
Right.
And then you get into that situation where you become numb to the message. Right? And the more and more you remove yourself from the awareness of how you are supposed to work, the more and more you forget about what that looks like.
Absolutely.
And so I think for us, the biggest way we can help is to remind people that, hey, if we keep you in a space where you are working the way that you're supposed to work, then you will know whenever things in your life are not working the way that they're supposed to work before they come at you like a tidal wave.
So it's an increase of awareness of your body, of your feelings, of your mind, of just being. So being more aware of what's happening to you is, are certain situations making you have more anxiety? Are certain situations giving you more pain? Just being aware of all of those things so that you can change your lifestyle and take care of it before it becomes a huge problem.
Right. Yeah, and you can you can essentially have a conversation with your body, right? You can listen to what it's saying and then respond back to it with the actions that it's asking of you.
Yeah. And I
Right?
think an important thing too is we have conversations with our body, but also having conversations with your doctor, right? So
Yeah.
we both sit and have conversations with our patients. And there's a lot of times where you go to certain doctors or certain specialists and things, and they come in and it's bang, bang, boom, and you're out of there. They did what they were supposed to do and you're done. But typically with chiropractors, we're seeing people more often, we're talking to them, we get to know them, their families, and we get to see this other stressors in their life. So maybe you do have back pain, but maybe you have other things that are on your mind that end up coming out. And then we can kind of give you different avenues to take. And I think part of that whole healing space is communication with our patient, just like
Right.
more communication with our bodies within itself.
Well, and that's the thing that whenever people come in and I ask them, how are you? And very often they're like, oh, it's a bad day, but that's not a chiropractic thing. And it's
Right.
like, well, yes, it is. It all is a
Yes,
chiropractic
it
thing.
all is.
If you need to share something with me, then share it with me. I'm not asking you how you're doing like a random person on the street would. I'm asking you how you're doing so that you can tell me what's going on in your life and we can work through it.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's all a chiropractic thing because in the end, you're seeing the world through your nervous system. No matter what type of day you're having, you're experiencing that day through your nervous system. And it's my job as a chiropractor to make sure that nervous system is equipped to handle whatever that day brought.
And to adapt to your day and to your surroundings. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, yeah, whenever people come in, it's like, yeah, I don't think this is a chiropractic thing, but this is going on. It's like everything's a chiropractic thing.
It is.
You
Absolutely.
share with me.
Absolutely. And I think that's part of the beauty of our profession is getting to know our patients at much deeper level
Right.
than most people can. Most healthcare practitioners can. You know, they're bound by
Right.
certain time constraints and other things, whereas we have a little bit more freedom when it comes to that.
We do, and that's the beauty is that chiropractic is not necessarily protocol based. You know, like the art of chiropractic is, I think, much more important than it is in other professions. And so, what we are able to do is adapt to each particular person who comes in and lays on our table and see what it is that they need the most and apply it that way rather than saying, I'm going to try this protocol. If that protocol doesn't work, then I'll move on to the next protocol. If that protocol doesn't work, then I'll move on to the next protocol. If that one didn't work, I'm going to send you somewhere else.
Right.
We don't do it that way.
No.
And I think that that is a giant blessing to have that perspective out in society for people to choose if that's what's right for them. And it would be a shame if we didn't have that. We didn't have the ability to that medical pluralism, that ability to decide what is best for me in my growth, in my changing, my responsibility within my own health.
Yeah.
Because that's, you know, like I was saying earlier, that's part of the process of clarity for yourself. It's finding the right people to surround yourself with because you're making these symptoms not just for yourself, you're making them to reach out for help as well.
Right.
It's that social nervous system that we talk about sometimes in chiropractic, that we are essentially creating symptoms to ask for the help of others. And that oftentimes is the hardest thing.
Yeah, and I think that's really a good point is whatever's happening within us is happening outside of us and vice versa. You know, you're seeing a lot more, say, autoimmune diseases, for instance, right? And autoimmune is just your immune system fighting each other. Well, let's look at our world, right? What's happening in our world? All we're doing is fighting with each other constantly. Everything just mirrors everything else, right?
Yeah.
So part of this whole quieting down of what's happening is, I think, mirrored as well. So I think it's so important now, chiropractic lifestyle more than ever, prevention, staying healthy, mind, body, soul, all of it, and just listening, learning how to listen to what your body wants from you and what is right for you. So before we go, any last thoughts that you have for our listeners today?
Oh man, that's a hard one. Like any last thoughts? There's so many thoughts. So which is my last one? Which last one is the best? Um, no, I just think that what I have been appreciative of within this time is the space to decide that my own leadership is the best for myself. You know, that it's easy, and I was initially waiting for someone to tell me what to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, especially like with my practice, like, hey, you should close it, or you should stay open, or you should be open for this many hours, or you should
Mm-hmm.
wipe the table down with this before everybody gets in. But we haven't had that particular type of leadership, not just for ourselves in chiropractic, but as society for the most part. And I think that the biggest thing I've been able to glean from this moment is that whenever I decided I'm not going to sit here and wait for someone else to make the decision for me, that I need to make the decision for myself, that I was confident in the decision, I was empowered by the decision, and I felt really just clear and happy with where I was in my moment.
And I think that's what everyone should be doing right now. I mean, we obviously are looking for guidance from our leaders, but as a country, we're not super prepared for what just hit us. So you have
Right.
to look to yourself, make educated opinions, make decisions for yourself as even you as a doctor, me as a
Right.
doctor, making educated decisions for our patients, everything
Yes.
like that. It's just
Absolutely.
keeping everybody safe and keeping everybody healthy, and just doing the best that we can every single day.
Yeah.
So Maninder, thank you so much for chatting with me today. Hopefully we
Yeah.
can do
Thank you.
another one of these. We'll go
Yeah.
off
It's a lot
on
of fun.
another road, but
Okay.
all right. Thank you, Maninder. I will talk to you soon. If anybody has any questions, obviously reach out, comment in the comments under here, and we're happy to respond.
All
Everyone have
right.
a wonderful day. Bye,
Bye.
Maninder.